Alright guys, so here I am grading your DMR quizzes from today, and I'm looking at some scores, and we're going to need to go over all of these answers again. Let me just read a few scores for you. Keep in mind that in order to pass, you have to get a 5. So the first score I see is a 6, and then a 2, and then a 5, and then a 1, and then a 3, and then a 0, and then a 5, a 3, a 2. I'll stop now. Overall, these questions you've seen probably at least 3 different times. You had them on your pre-test, which you should have had at home with you. You could have studied them the period before or Sunday night, anytime over the weekend. And sure, you might have made a mistake, maybe even 2, but there is no reason for 1s and 0s. So now we're going to go over all of these. You need to write them all down on your paper. So since I'm subtracting fractions, I'm going to make a smiley face with my tongue sticking out, which reminds me to multiply straight across. So I'm multiplying 3 times 5, which is 15, and then I'm going to multiply from the bottoms up. 5 times 2 is 10, circle your eye. 3 times 4 is 12, circle the eye, and in here is the nose. So we're going to do what it tells me to do. 10 minus 12, since 12 is bigger, it's going to be -2. So our answer is -2 over 15. I didn't see anything too difficult about that, but something apparently was tricky. Let's look at another one. So you need to write the question and write down all the work that I'm showing you. Okay, another fraction. So I'm going to draw my smiley face. I'm going to multiply straight across first. 4 times 6 is 24. Then I'm going to find my eyes. I'm going to multiply from the bottoms up. 6 times 3 is 18. 4 times 2 is 8. Now I'm going to subtract. 18 minus 8 is 10. Now a few of you left your answer like this, and I gave you credit, but you actually need to reduce the fraction. So they can both be divided by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 24 divided by 2 is 12. So the final answer should have been 5 over 12. Okay, the next one. This one was on there twice, and it was the same one that was on your pre-test that we took at the beginning of the week. So I'm going to plug in this 4 for A right here, and I'm going to plug in the -2 for B. When I plug that in, I'm going to have 2 times 4, because it's sitting right beside it, plus -2. Well, order of operations tells me I have to multiply here first. Okay, 2 times 4 is 8. And then when I add -2 in, I have different signs. This number here is positive, and this number is negative. Different signs, I'm actually going to subtract. 8 minus 2 is 6, and it's positive because 8 is bigger and 8 was positive. So your final answer should have been 6. Okay, the next one. This is a one-step equation. If you're not in my class, you may not have seen this before. If you are in my algebra class, remember we label. A plain number is a constant. A number that's attached to a variable is a variable term. And then over here I have a constant. I'm going to draw my line down the middle. Now I'm trying to get variables on one side and constants on the other. So I go ahead and label them Variableville and Constant City. I want to get rid of any constants that are in Variableville. So what I see right here is I see this 4. Now you see it. In order to get rid of a 4, well, the 4 itself is positive. It doesn't matter what's after the 4. The 4 is positive, so I'm going to subtract 4, and I have to do the same thing on the other side. The 4's cancel out, and the -3r comes straight down. 7 minus 4 is 3. Now to get r by itself, I'm going to divide by -3. When I do, these r's cancel each other out. That becomes 1, which is just 1r or r. Keep your equal sign on the line, and +3 divided by -3 is -1. Don't skip putting your line on there. Don't try to shift your problem over. Don't try to flip it around and make it backwards. Don't do anything fancy. Follow these steps exactly as I'm doing them, and once you prove you can do them the way I'm doing them, then you can try to take some shortcuts. Okay, the next one, it's a similar problem. I'm going to go through and I'm going to label. This is a variable, this number by itself is a constant, and this number over here is a constant. Draw my line down the middle. If I'm trying to get my variables by themselves on the left and my constants on the right, what I see is a constant in variableville, so I'm going to get rid of it. The way to get rid of a -4 is to add 4 on both sides. I can bring my 2x straight down. These 4's cancel out. 4 plus 4 is 8. To get the x by itself, I'm going to divide by 2, and x equals 4. Final answer. If you have a question, if you know where you're making your mistake, you need to ask me so that we can correct the mistake. Okay, here's another one. I'm going to label this right here. If you notice, this is a variable. It's kind of attached to that 5, so this whole term is considered a variable term. This is a plain regular number, so it's a constant. A plain regular number is a constant. Draw your line through your equal sign to split it in half. I only want variables on the side that already has a variable, and I only want constants on the other side. So now I'm going to leave the variable alone. Don't touch it. Don't try to do anything with that 5 yet. Get rid of the constant. I'm going to subtract 5 on both sides. Bring down the x over 5. These cancel out, and 2 minus 5 is -3. Now you can try to do something with the variable part, and since they're dividing by 5, I want you to do the opposite and multiply by 5. So I want you to multiply by 5 on both sides. Here, these 5's cancel out because they're the opposite of each other. X equals -3 times 5 is -15. Final answer. Okay, the last one. Now, really, we talked about this last week, the 0 doesn't matter. If you put the 0 in, you would do 0 times 1 is 0, 0 times 3 is 0, and 0 times 2 is 0. And then you would put your placeholder in, and I've seen some people cross it out or put an X in it, that's fine. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 2 is 2. Now, to get underneath the 4, because I'm always going to put my first number underneath the number I'm multiplying by, I need to put 2 placeholders in. I think some of you forgot that. So now I'm going to multiply 4 times 1, which is 4. 4 times 3 is 12, carry your 1. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 more is 9. Alright, now I'm going to add all my terms together. So 0 plus nothing, or 0, is 0. 0 plus 1 plus 0 is 1. 0 plus 3 plus 4 is 7. 2 plus 2 is 4. 9 plus nothing is 9. Then I'm going to notice that I have 3 placeholders up in the original problem. So if you look, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I lied, I really have 4 decimal places. So that means I need 4 in the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means my decimal is going to be after the 9. So the answer was 9.471. Now you could have totally ignored this 0, which would mean you wouldn't have this 0 right here. And because you have 3 decimal places left in the answer, you should have 3 left down here. Okay, if you have any questions, you need to ask them. We're going to move on because we've spent enough time on this stuff. I'll continue to throw them in, but be sure if you're not understanding it, ask me, ask your algebra teacher, get the help that you need. That's why you're in this class.